Now, I've also been asked, are we alone in the universe? No, we're not alone in the universe in the sense that I'm here with you, and as I'm the creator, I only created the earth, Ashra, and myself are what it's all about. Therefore, heaven is being emptied out, and by the 28th of October, all those that was going to be born back to the earth will be back with us as newborn babies. So people who have been massacred in this last little while, they will be coming back real quick. So don't worry about that. We'll have 7 billion people here, and that is the quantum level. And what that means is if you take a hive that's going to swarm, um, uh, bees will reach a certain population and the pheromones will interact with one another, and then they get to a point where it's like a pregnancy in the sense of the hive has got to give birth, and they'll form a new hive and get this intelligent thing going because they're concentrating on survival and making their way across the various forests to keep their population numbers up, as a natural course of action of all creatures do that. So what we have then is, I'll just continue with, while I was down in the United States, for 2 years running, I drove 30 to 40,000 miles per year. And I went to all the UFO hotspots and speaking to the local lunatics that have said they've been abducted or some nonsense. And on my way back across America, I was following a UFO trail in the sense that you meet certain people that are believers and they will nudge you in a certain direction. I end up meeting people in Fife, Alabama, a complete and utter shithole of a place, where they were talking about, and I went to the police there, and they were saying absolutely they'd seen these UFOs and they were huge. They were triangular shape, 300 feet across or more, and travelling at fantastic speeds. While I talked to two men separately who had seen the same incidents, and their stories were entirely different. And I met a man that was named Fred Elephant, and he had claimed to be a new recruit into the Fife, Alabama police force, making a total of 3. And he had formerly worked for the Strategic Air Command in Belgium and was a public relations officer that gave out the information on the UFOs that were buzzing around Belgium some years before. And what he told me was, of course, utter rubbish, but the phenomena stretched right across to San Marino, California, where I was directed to go to. And I got to this particular little cafe, which was a bookshop and cafe. So you could sit down and read these old books, and you can buy them if you wanted to, and drink coffee. And I met a man who worked for NASA, who's a mathematician, and he was also a Mormon, and he told me all sorts of bullshit stories about Marduk and all this crap they're going about. So here was another rabbit hole I was going down. The man I met there was the lover of the man that was employed through the Chicago University, I think it was, and he was a homosexual lover of the professor in charge of this phenomenon that had been ordered by the Pentagon to do a study on the Operation Blue Book. So he hung himself in his own tongue by talking about Fred Oliphant, which at first he didn't know anything about, but then he was able to describe the damn dog he had. So what I do is I basically hypnotise people momentarily, get them to say what they don't want to say, and then know from that point onwards it's bullshit. So from there, I was able to determine via the trip, going through, which today is one of the hotspots of UFO phenomena. And this is, I think it's called the Strategic 504, that was in Roswell. And when I went into Roswell, I met a man who was also appeared to be a homosexual, He thought I was a Freemason with a Freemason handshake, and he blabbed his guts for a while. He had an area on top of, was the sixth floor of a bank building, so there's your connection right there, that he was getting for free to promote the UFO phenomena of the downed craft that had come down in Roswell on the 4th of July. There's another flag. It's got to be the 4th of July because it's saying it in your face. And he was the Strategic Air Command at that time of the 504 that released the evidence that there had been 4 aliens that had crashed to the ground. The original story, however, was that these alien craft had come from Planet X or wherever, and then there was 2 crafts. It wasn't one. So here we are. We slid out the arse of a sea slug 3.5 billion years ago, and we just happen to be the conscious beings on the planet, and these aliens show up, and at the exact same moment, coming from 2 different directions, from 2 different star formations, these 2 damn ships run into each other at 100,000 feet over Roswell, New Mexico, not over New York, London, or France, or anywhere like that. What they was doing was over a deserted area where they run into each other at 100,000 feet. Now, the odds of that happening, which I pointed out to the people at Roswell, that this is an absolute impossibility, just from numbers alone, that they would show up at the same moment in time over billions of years and run into each other. And so what happened was they soon changed the story. It wasn't 2 UFOs where they crashed into each other at 100,000 feet, destroying one machine completely because it wasn't technologically advanced as the other one was, and killed 3 of the aliens on board the one craft, and of course the other ones were annihilated altogether, but one survived. And they even suggested later on in years that they were doing interplanetary migrations of Americans going back and forwards and aliens coming back and forwards here by some teleportation or something bullshit they come up with, Stargate or whatever they want to call it. So they changed the story. This is the whole point. So no longer was it 2 ships because that's just too damn stupid. Now it's 1 ship. So here we have then an attempt to start another cult and another diffusion of belief into anything but me and you. They want to control your soul to such an extent that when we get into the reality of what they are actually doing is some more insane than the way they're doing it. And that is they want to ride your corpse back into the northern side of heaven, which is a Milky Way galaxy. And that's why the numbers were laid out in 5,000 years ago by the descendants of Noah, who built the Great Pyramid to such a precision, and only one location on Earth where this thing could be, that even today, all of the nations of the Earth, if they decided to knock down the Great Pyramid in Egypt and build it again, they couldn't do it. Now, I'd like to add that Egypt itself was entirely built by the same people that built the Great Pyramid. They didn't go there, build and leave. They went there and built Egypt. So even to the point where they was able to build into the foundations these underground chambers where it would identify Joseph as being the problem that would be written into a Bible that wouldn't come along for thousands of years later. And of course, they didn't have to worry about it at that time. That's the manufacturers of the Old Testament in the sense of the Torah. This is the first 5 books of bullshit. But this is what the Jews, that they called themselves, they were not Jews. The Hebrews was what it's all about. Judah is a tribe. You can't go to China and become a Chinaman, like you can't become a member of the Judah tribe. Judah is a royal tribe, and that comes from England, Ireland, and Scotland in the migration of 1521 BC, and also the second migration in 583 BC, rather. And this is the start of the joining together of the royal line. So the UFO phenomena is strictly bullshit. They are attempting to confuse you, and it's just another belief system. It's just like the churches. There's hundreds and hundreds of churches follow me, I have the truth of God, I know what it's all about. And of course, as I've said in other videos, none will tell you that there's an AIDS cure or that there's a crazy couple here telling you that, well, there she is now, as a matter of fact. I don't have to mention her.
Oh, just talk about ascended masters, darling.
Ascended masters? What's an ascended bloody master?
Well, you know, these gurus that reach enlightenment and
Is
then
it?
they ascend back into
Are
the
they
heavenly
real?
realm?
Are they real?
Absolutely not.
Huh.
How many have
I
ascended?
just heard about it. Eh?
How many have ascended? For real?
2.
2. And that was who?
Give me a hint. Oh, all right. Yeah, there's 2. That's your mother and father. We've gone up there and prepared the way for you because we are your parents. And like any parent that goes away to war and comes back, and you find that when you get back home, your family's been adopted by someone else and giving you a load of bullshit. Well, that's called Christianity. Now, the reality of Christianity, if you want to go back in time, I mean, surely, if you look at the Hindu religion and go back 4,000 years, they were predicting that God in the flesh would come to the earth and be nailed to a cross. His name is going to be Jesus Christ. And they gave you every detail, even when it was going to occur, and also said that he's going to come back again because this is God in the flesh. So that is in the Hindu tradition. Of course, you've got the male and female entity in the Hindu tradition. So, like, looking at Christianity is so blatantly stupid that here it is coming along a couple of hundred years after the crucifixion, invented by men who were not Jews in the first place. They were Hellenists out of various parts of the Middle East, but primarily Alexandria. And their agenda was to control you all, right? Because the devil has to be within something. It has to control something. So in the Hindu tradition, Satan was allowed to come back to the earth, but not as a man. Could only come as a spirit, because Yahweh, which they call Yahweh, and another word they use quite commonly, which you're all familiar with, is Jehovah. So these words came before the Old Testament was written by the very people that want to stop you becoming aware of whom you are, and that is God in the flesh, the children of God. That's what you're all about. So I want to thank all the people. There's thousands, countless thousands out there that we're contacted by and that are watching, and they know what reality is, because we spent a great deal of time showing you in precise details that everything you want to know, any questions you want to ask us, we'll answer it, and we'll give you the absolute truth on it. And it's never contradictory, and it's always to the point. So I'll just hand this over to my lovely wife here.
No, you don't have to. You're doing a lovely job.
She's just put a lipstick on. You've got to use that, haven't you?
Absolutely, got to put the lips on.
All right. Hasta la vista, baby.
Hasta la vista, guys.